Yeah, what is going on, everybody? We are back with another episode of From My Experience podcast. I'm your host, Rob. This is the conclusion of the series, The Line Is Not Secure. It was a series that started a few months ago after I joined some singles groups and basically dived a bit deeper into Facebook and realized that toxic men get a lot of smoke from men and women, but toxic women don't get talked about very much and catch very little smoke. So I just wanted to inquire about that. And I had an episode with Nella B and Biff talking about it. We broached the subject. We got to a little bit of an impasse. Then I had a fellas episode so we could hear a man's perspective on, when we have something to say about these toxic women, why the line is never secure and we can't really talk about it. And now we are at the conclusion of the series where I have 4 special guests with me, and we're going to talk about solutions. How can we secure the line? But before we get into that, I want to shout out to our affiliates, Garner's Garden. Check them out on Instagram. Check out their website. We also have a link in the description where you can buy products from them. They use organic, natural products for like skincare, oral health care, things of that nature. Acre Gold, you can have a subscription where you pay monthly towards a 2.5 gram bar of gold or a 5 gram bar of gold. And once you have hit the mark, which is the current price of that amount of gold, they will ship it to you right in the mail. I actually have a video on the From My Experience podcast Instagram because I got my first bar of gold. And Retro Mimi, IMI. They sell handheld emulation units. So those of you who are tech savvy or you know how to use YouTube, learn how to download and get those ROMs and put them on a micro SD card, and you can carry your childhood memories of gaming right there in your pocket. All those links will be in the description. So please use our affiliate links. We'll get a little bit of kickback, which will be used to help the show. Now, without further ado, let me introduce my guests here. Well, first, we have Miss Jessica Fountain, who was on the show actually almost exactly a year ago, talking about her. Well, I was talking to her about her blog and her travels around the world. Jessica, what is going on? How are you?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Life is busy as we navigate this pandemic and small business and all of the above. Life is good. No complaints.
Excellent. Now, I have the fellas back with me. We have Nick, we have Vudu, and we have my boy Q, my Xbox buddies, and the fellas who try to keep me on the straight and narrow path when I be out here messing up. So we had the fellas back. Fellas, welcome. No, you don't get your individual introductions.
Oh, thanks.
Because I know one of y'all was thinking it.
Yeah, we feel greatly appreciated.
No, last time we got introduced as the old men, so I'm going to pause on that.
Voodoo, you still there? Or are you focusing? Oh,
I was asleep a little bit.
Okay. So, and all of us answered. Jessica, asked me the same question you asked before we got on air. I almost answered it, y'all, but I paused because I'm like, this is something that needs to be in the show.
So, in the second episode of this series, you guys discussed secure the line. And there was somewhat of a definition given in that episode, but I wanted to know more about what does that mean? Is that having a safe space when you say secure the line, or a non-female space meaning secure the line? What does that actually look like to you all?
It is. Oh, Nick just sent me a text message before we begin. Rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. I have not said that on any episode since he passed away. And some of those episodes were pre-recorded before his passing. I just never interjected to say that. But I do want to make sure that I do say that he'll be missed. He gave us some great movies. If you have On Demand, make sure you go watch his films. They are excellent. I wanted to make sure I said that. I know that was an awkward moment to put that in, but I know I didn't want to forget again. Thanks, Nick.
No problem, man.
All right, so for me, I will say it's both of those things that you just said about securing the line. One, having a safe space without women at times because I would say a lot of women don't receive it well when a man talks about a woman. And it's not that I'm trying to be, when I talk about a woman, it's not that I'm talking about them trying to demean them or put women down, but it's like there's some problematic areas when it comes to women, and it's like we can't ever talk to them about it because they get so defensive instead of listening for understanding and the benefit of improving. That's what it means to me.
So I'll chime in a little bit too on that. I think it means two things. I think one, it means that men are men, that we shouldn't have to fight our nature all the time, and that amongst our group that we have as fellows, that we can talk openly with each other without having some I would say misconceptions of exactly what we're talking about. We're not trying down women or anything like that. Number two, it also means that when we are talking to a woman, that we can be open and honest, and that they're not going to take anything that we're saying to them offensively, especially on the sensitive topics, or if you're going through a tough time and you're trying to get through it, that you can be open and honest with each other and actually work through the issues instead of people getting defensive and trying to defend themselves, and it turns into something else rather than the actual topic.
Q, Vudu?
I don't know. It's pretty originally. I remember way back when I started saying that stuff to Q specifically. Originally, it really meant, hey, can I speak freely without hitting any trigger points from anyone in your background? That's really what it started off with. It really directed towards, either, his better half, or any company he may have, or, any company anyone may have at that time, and meaning that, will they hear what I have to say? Because they may hit a trigger point. So it kind of like, I guess, evolved into this line is not secure, where you want to make sure you can speak to another guy freely without a woman being upset or offended or causing whoever you're speaking to any kind of grief. You know what I mean? So, because yes, women tend to get a little sensitive when they hear certain things or be reactive. So that's what I think about when I say, is the line secure?
Okay.
So, if that makes any sense.
It does. Q, you got anything to add?
Well, everybody kind of touched on a little bit here and there. So there's not too much to add more than that, because like everybody is basically saying, everybody wants a voice. Men, women, we all want a voice. And sometimes that's a tad difficult when men are speaking to women. Like Vudu said, there are trigger points here and there. And sometimes I even see it between women themselves. And just to be fair, I see it between men also.
Yes.
So this is really about, how do you say, how do we get to where we can say the line is secure for men and women speaking together. So I hope somebody has an idea how we're going to accomplish that.
I want to add to what Q said. Those of you who listen, I know there's ignorant people out there. We do know that this stuff can apply to men and women. We obviously know that. I'm speaking from a man perspective, talking about women, because this is what I see. This is what I experience. Q is right. Sometimes women feel the same way, but I've been in way more situations where I've literally seen dudes clam up and shut up when a woman walks in the room, whether it be their girlfriend, aunt, mom, whatever. They will clam up and shut the hell up because, I can't say that. I'm not allowed to talk about that. Whereas I walk into a room full of women and I'll become the example. Like, I'll instantly be a target, and they'll continue to speak freely, but I don't feel a way about it either, because that's just them speaking freely about their experiences. So I've seen the dynamic. So that's what I'm speaking about here. But Jessica, I want to give you the floor because you had a chance to go back and go back and listen to the first two episodes. And if you're one of those people who has not listened to the first two, please go listen to The Line Is Not Secure Part 1 and Part 2. It will give this episode far more context than you just jumping into the conclusion. So what were some of the things, talking points that you wanted to bring about?
Well, there was a lot, even in just now. I think that there is a misconception of this idea that you cannot speak. And I think a lot of that comes from the idea of who have you previously been speaking to. And I think that when that's your experience of speaking to people and not being heard, sometimes it comes from our own behaviors, because we go in, like I'm trying to find words for it, where I'm actually being able to speak exactly how I feel and not being pigeonholed. So something that I heard is like, you can't say certain things, and I don't think that I just truly don't believe in that logic. And even when I fall victim to feeling that way, sometimes I feel like I can't speak on something, but it's not really true. It's that I haven't found words and language to for the topic at hand, because I know that I can speak on anything. I just have to find a way in how this can be received based on where someone is, based on my attachment to it emotionally. Like sometimes I'm too emotionally attached and I have to take a step back and I have to come back to it from a different angle. Sometimes it's been like, I know where that person is in their growth, so no matter what I'm going to say, it's going to be defensive because they're in a defensive place in their life. So that's something.
You brought up a good point there. It's for me, it's just not wanting to deal with the aftermath. It's not like I feel like I can say whatever I want to. I do say what I want to say most of the time anyway. But it's just I don't want to deal with the aftermath of it. Like the aftermath sometimes is so extreme. You can, like you said, you just don't know how they're going to take it and where they are in their journey. And sometimes I don't feel like you being mad at me for a week after you said you weren't going to get mad and you want me to speak. Like I don't like the sneak dissing. I don't like the snide remarks that come after. It's just so much extra stuff comes with it sometimes that it's best not to say something sometimes. It's like, let me just keep the peace.
Well, Jessica, and to your point though, doesn't that go back to our episode where we cited the 3 examples, the women that take responsibility, those that take it but say get over it, and those that don't take responsibility at all? It depends where they're at, just like you said.
Right. And I think that is key to getting to the place that Q mentioned of like, how do we get to this common space of being able to have the conversation? And I don't think that you can navigate that space for people that are not ready. And I think that sometimes it comes to some big, like I think our human self wants to always try to like navigate it in a way where you can kind of get your cake and eat it too. But like sometimes you're just gonna have to eliminate those type of people out of your life, and it's unfortunate, I think, because it does. I mean, everybody wants community, everybody wants relationship, everybody wants like these relationships, but you can't have that type of level of relationship without somebody being open enough to have dialogue and conversation. Like you can't get to that common space without it. Go ahead.
Well, to get to that level of relationship, you've got to do the thing called relationship maintenance. You know what I mean? Relationship maintenance.
Maintenance. Got it.
Yeah, because you've got to get to a comfort level, and so does your partner. You know what I mean? So you've got to do your job to make sure they're comfortable with you and vice versa. Now, granted, there are some people who's ready to move forward or go a lot faster in a relationship than the other, but it's still maintenance when what's the word I'm looking for, Nick? When you accelerate or decelerate in a relationship to keep up with your partner, and both persons have to do it in the same sense. The person who's like kind of stepping backwards, they need to be open enough, whether man or woman, open enough to say, hey, I'm not comfortable yet with this, or I'm a little more comfortable with this. Would you be okay doing this moving forward? And you've got to kind of communicate and provide maintenance. So it's the biggest issue relationships have is security.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
I think you're right. And I think that security comes from not being secure itself first. Like you can't be secure in a relationship when you're not secure in your own person. And I think that's where we constantly meet people that have, like, I can be secure, but like I can be in a relationship with someone who may not fully be secure in their thoughts. So that creates conflict. And when you try to approach it, even with this maintenance, if they are not secure, you can't have that dialogue with, you can't maintain something that was never fully established from the beginning.
True, and I mean, to both of you, I think both of you are spot on with this, and the point is two phases here, right? So the first phase is just like you said, Jessica. Are you secure in yourself, right? Can you look yourself hard in the mirror and point out, okay, yes, I know I'm a great person at this, but these are my fatal flaws, right?
Yeah.
This is what I am not good at, and this is what the toxicity I will bring into a relationship, and face that front on. And then the next step that people often don't realize, because I'll tell you, when I was dating my wife early on, I was, in order to progress to the next level, I had to deal with all my demons and lay them out on the table with her. And if she couldn't handle that, then we couldn't even talk about marriage, talk about the next step in our life, right? And she did the same with me. And I don't think a lot of people do that. I think everyone's about the sugar and flowers, but no one really says, you know what, this is my crap. Here's all my shit. Can you handle it?
Right.
I like that.
And I think they bypass that step. I'm sorry, Rob, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I heard one of the scariest things I heard. I was working a part-time job, and my manager had been married, and he found out. I don't know how many years later it was. I think it was a year after they got married. On the Christmas, when his bank account was in negative, that his wife was bankrupt and had all these debts and didn't even show up to the court date. And since they were married, they were garnishing his salary and her salary. And I was like, because I was talking to him about my now ex-girlfriend, about how we talked about finances. And he was like, wow, I wish I would have had that conversation. He said, oh, you're really good for having that conversation now. I was like, wait, you didn't talk about finances before you married someone? So it just really goes back to, I guess, Vudu, you have just hit the nail on the head with one of the ways to make the line secure is relationship maintenance. And Nick, I would say yours, I would call that transparency. We like to hide those flaws because we're scared. We like this person so much sometimes. They're so fine. They're so good. They make me feel good. The sex is so good. I don't want to do anything to push them away, including telling them the whole truth. Because I don't like omission either. I don't like the whole, well, you didn't ask, kiss my ass. But I would want to know. I hate that one. But I like that.
Omission is lying. Omission is lying.
Not in real estate, but go ahead.
Hey,
I struggled with that as a realtor, boy. I struggled with that one.
Yeah, hey, I just want to make some clear. You're right. Yeah, y'all make some good points, but you're saying about transparency. You're saying about relationship maintenance. But let's get to the reality of it. Self is not going to take blame. I'm just going to let y'all know now. I see it in every relationship. If it's a business relationship, female male, male male, female female. Self never wants to take blame. I'm gonna tell you from personal experience. I never want to take blame for something. I'll pass it off on somebody else first, and then I'll look for a way to get out of it without blaming self. And
Q, don't you think that's a sign of maturity? If you want to get that close with somebody, you have to be able to do that.
True. I don't get me wrong. I agree, but like I said, I just want to play in the real world. That is not what you see. It is just not what you see. There. You say people are mature. How they say, most people say, oh yeah, you get, 25, you get in your 30s, you start to be more mature. But let's face it, those are the people that have the most problems. You're not going to sit here, no, I'm going to take the blame for nothing. Like you said, they said, hey, you never talk to somebody about their finances. Well, let's get real with that. If somebody's in a relationship, shouldn't they, like you said, disclose it? Or at least not put you in harm's way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one of the biggest stress triggers of a relationship is finance,
But I
because it's
think
usually hidden till the end of the. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
It's
ahead.
fine. No,
no,
we gotta find. It's
I
a
thought
lot of
you
people on
were
here.
doing. Go ahead.
You
Go
just gotta
ahead.
jump in. We gotta find the flow. It's all good.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'm good. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So I feel like going back to what you originally stated, Q, is like that's not reality. And I think that our realities are based on our experience. And another thing, a point that you made is that that's your insecurity is that you don't want to admit when you're wrong. But not everyone is like that. Like I'm the first I am actually a person that would admit when I'm wrong when I know that I'm wrong. Like, okay, I didn't handle that the best way. But in my experience, so my experiences are going to be different just from that trait alone. And I think that you you have to go back, like do that first analysis of self before you can take the next step and say I want to commune with anybody. So if you haven't addressed your own shortcomings, your own abilities and strengths, like you're gonna move out of ego, and your ego is like doesn't want to take the blame. Your ego never wants to be right or never wants to be wrong, and like you're gonna move in ego, and ego with any person, going back to the different types of relationships, when ego is in play, it's not going to yield the best result. Like you have to kind of lay that aside and say like this is where I am, and this is what I'm doing well, this is where I operate well, this is where I don't, and like bring all of that to the table and meet people that also are bringing all of that to the table. But if you're hiding a piece and you don't want to admit that, then you're going to attract people that don't want to admit that in other areas. And I think going back to the guy that didn't know about his wife and her spending habits, if he's honest with himself instead of just solely looking at her mistakes and her stuff, like there was something in dating that indicated it, even if it
Yeah.
was the fact that he paid for all of the dates, or she might had money to go to a concert but was complaining like I don't know how I'm gonna have pay my light bill. There was something
Yeah.
in their dating process, I'm pretty sure, that revealed that trait of hers, whether he ignored it or not, because he was going back to looking at the sugar and the sweet. Like people don't just become total nightmares overnight. Like that is like habitual behavior that they are doing something somewhere that you have to read into all of those things that I think show you who they are.
Yeah, that's the whole problem, though. When you're so-called in love, you don't see those things. Nobody
Yeah,
ever
but
sees
late
the
then.
nobody sees the mistakes. Everybody overlooks the mistakes because when you're so-called in a relationship, that is the first thing you let go. You say, okay, I get it that everybody's gonna make mistakes. You say, hey, we're gonna deal with the mistakes as we go on. That's why you overlook many of those red flags that are thrown at you because this is your significant other. You're gonna look past that because you're trying to make a relationship work the best you can.
Yeah, you're overlooking it, but I think if you stay right there, why are you overlooking it? Why I'm overlooking this because of something within me. Like, and that I think that we overlook those things because we want to be in relationships. So now you've placed this
That's it.
point of I want to be in this relationship so bad that I'm going to overlook
Yeah.
these things that
Yes,
are
that
in
is
my
correct.
heart.
That is the
I don't
truth.
think that that's cool though. Like
That
I
is
think that
We
you
do
should
it.
do the
It is
work.
not cool.
that
It's
is
not
all.
cool because like you do yourself a disservice by overlooking it to jump into the relationship, but you didn't do the work. Like, why do I need somebody so bad? Like, what about this is like my trigger? Because all of that to me, if you can keep you place these things on pedestals and you overlook all of these other behaviors, I feel like at the end you never in life you don't skip past the test. The test comes at some point and you still got to take the test. So you can take it in the dating process of 4 dates, I see something ain't right, or you can take it 4 years later when you already committed to it and got a ring and a baby. Now you see it ain't right. Like,
So Jessica, I
Uh,
mean, to your to your point though, I think a lot of those are immature mistakes, right? Immature mistakes early on. I don't think we have and I'm not going to say young mistakes because it can happen at any age, but early on you will overlook some of those things because, oh, I'm in love and, I can handle that. I can deal with that. And they come to find out later, it's a really big issue. It's a red flag, right? So I think it depends on the maturity of the people in the relationship.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm the sober one here because y'all make it sound so easy.
No, it's not easy. I was.
No.
It is not.
I'm drinking water, man.
You sure that's water?
Yeah, I didn't even say anything yet. I was actually about to say something to your point. About the reality of situations. All three of my ex-girlfriends had a very big problem with accepting responsibility for their crap, and it was funny because and this is probably why I'm probably going to be single for a while. I know for a fact I cannot deal with the woman who cannot admit when she's wrong and deal with her shit. It's impossible because, Jessica, like you, I'm the same way. My father raised me like that. Like when I was 13, if my dad messed up or did something wrong, he was apologizing to me, which is very rare to see in the black community. Like your parents, back in those days thought they were right about everything. But like my most recent ex, and I saw that when I held her accountable, she didn't like it. And I would get attitude, but like a day or two later, she would always say, one of the things I respect about you is the most is that you're one of the only people that ever holds me accountable for my bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But she couldn't take it because, it self-destructed or whatever, but she couldn't take it. And it wasn't that I was being menacing or mean, but it's like, yo, I can't, certain stuff you're not going to let slide. Like, you're going to let some stuff slide because you don't want to be nagging about every little thing. But it's like, yo, I need you to be mature enough and we're going to build a life together and commingle finances and living together and planning and dreaming. And I got to turn down opportunities for the sake of this relationship. I'm going to need you to be at a certain level because I'm not finna give all this up and give up my, I guess, single freedoms and these extra choices over here for the sake of this relationship if you're not going to be all the way in or you're not going to be on a certain level of maturity. Like, I need you to understand, and be able to take responsibility for what you do and what you cause to happen and how we're going to move forward from that. It's tough.
I totally agree with that. My only challenge or question is when we look at our exes or we look at our own experience and look at the people that we have chosen and that have got how we got to like in the relationship 2 years later, 4 years later, whatever that looks like, what attracted us to that person, given that they had such a big chunk of the thing that we don't want. And I think that going back to maturity, when you come to that awareness, is usually something that you needed. They had one piece of the puzzle that you needed that they were fulfilling, but they lacked 90% of the puzzle.
Suppression is part of it too. They hide stuff. You find out stuff later. You know what I'm saying? You don't know all the questions to ask. You find things out later. I could say that about all three of them. There's a lot of things I did not find out to, and when I found them out, I addressed them, and I got excuses instead of the truth.
But I don't think I don't know if I agree with that because that's like saying that they had the power. Like even if I use myself, when I look at my own, huh?
Did you use word?
Wait,
did I hear this word called?
You just hit a trigger point.
Power.
Oh, we back to control.
No, we're not going down this road. We're not. But you know what, Jessica, I'm gonna say this.
Right, but that's giving them control, like giving them power, giving them all of that.
I don't understand.
We all have our own bucket of power, and we all that's that level of maturity right there. Most people don't want to admit that.
But this is the question I have for you
about this control thing.
Stop. I have a question for you. So what do you mean I gave them the power? I don't understand. Like if someone hides something from you, like physically or emotionally.
I get that people do things that don't align with the relationship or your ideals of a relationship, and like they
Let me help you, Jesse. Let me
like
help you a
what?
little bit. Here's the thing.
What makes you have to own? You have to own. Nobody else can own the fact that you were attracted to this type of person.
No, but here's the thing. Wait, let me finish. I was attracted to them for the right reasons, but when it came to what we needed to work on, or when things began to be revealed, nobody wanted to do the work. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I had a girlfriend. I don't want to say her name, but we had our own spaces. She had an apartment. I had an apartment. She kept her apartment spotless. It was every time I came over there, it was clean. Stuff was together. Maybe not her bedroom, but it's our bedrooms. But it was always clean. Mm-hmm. Relationships get further. She gets a house. We move in together. The house is dirty all the time. Like, it was like a totally different person. And I'm like, I got to a point where I was like, yo, like, this is not cool. Like, when we were dating, your spot was always clean. Like, it was straight. But it was like, now that we're together and we're in this space together, it's like you just totally disregarded it. And the word, and she said, well, I mean, I knew you were coming over then, and, we're getting to know each other. So in my mind, to me, that said, you were trying to get me. And now that you got me, you feel like you don't need to work as hard. Or you don't need to be that person. That was I guess what people call sometimes a representative. That was a small example, but it was something I experienced because, like, I'm not the neatest person, but I like my space to be clean, uncluttered, things like that. And there was just no excuse for it. Like, and there was just, it was like, but my thing is this, if you were the type of person that was comfortable like that and you wanted to live like that, that would have been hella important for me to know before I moved in with you. You know what I'm saying? You hit it.
But that's like a trigger. I feel like I think that's a great example, but it's like she wasn't clean. She wasn't this. Like, it's still the reality of the situation is that she was this. She was honest with you. Like, that was when we were dating, and the reality is she really was doing that. I was dating, and it's like somebody's coming over, but that wasn't really who she was, and you thought that was who she was. So now you're disappointed and triggered, but instead of coming up with the solution, this is what I need from you. Like, I need XYZ. That's not given.
But I did. I came up with a solution, and it turned into, well, anytime the house was dirty, you felt like you were, quote unquote, walking on eggshells. But we came up with something that we're going to do together. We came to an agreement. But now, back to kind of what Q said, now, we come up with this rule, or what Vudu said, we come up with this rule. When I don't do it, it's World War III. But when you don't do it, it's like, oh, man, you don't want to apply it to you now. So it's like, because I'm like you, I'm solution oriented. I don't get into the minutia of arguments, fussing, and fighting. You don't like something, I don't like something. Let's talk about it and work it out.
All right, so let's trail this right back, right?
I'm not trailing nothing back.
So
no,
right
I'm
back
a trail.
what,
Go ahead.
So Jessica and Dex used this word earlier about ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ego is all about self. Self don't like to take blame. It's about I, right? Mm-hmm. When you're in a relationship, it's about we. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I heard Rob saying it. We agreed to this. We did this. The girlfriend example that he was just given, she well knew what was good for we, so she would clean up before we got together, right? And now that we're all comfortable, she's regressing back into I. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's very difficult, and Q, it's easy to say, I agree with you, but it's very difficult to address the we in the relationship. You always have to address the we in the relationship. And people think earlier on when y'all dating, we is easy. Yeah. Y'all ruin each other. We is so easy, right? But now when you're comfortable and all together, I just want to be I just want to be me. You understand? And the we becomes less important. So
that's a great way to say that. It's very clear. I think a lot of people need to hear that.
Yeah. But
honestly.
And that's what happens. That's why most relationships fail. Because we goes out the window. It becomes about I.
Yep.
Dang, Nick, you know some stuff.
Yeah, that was good.
Before we get into the talking more about the solutions, Jessica, do you have any other points you wanted to bring up from the previous episodes? Any more points?
The idea that women are sensitive. Women are sensitive, but I think that it is interpreted as a disability or some type of negative instead of like someone made a comment, men are men and women are women. And I think that until we can recognize like where our personal strengths are and navigate even our sensitivities, our sensitivities can also be interpreted as intuition. It could also be interpreted as a strength instead of it's always kind of thrown up as women are sensitive as if it's like a handicap or a disability of some sort. And I think that that's kind of triggery as a woman, because I think that there's a lot of beauty in our sensitivity that makes us a woman. Goes back to the point of men are men and women are women. And I think that sometimes it's such a, going back to even the word toxicity, is such a triggery word until you deal with your toxicity. Then you can look at it from afar because you know your toxicity is not even really something to be owned. It's something like I may have these toxic traits, but that's not who I am. Like, and when you can look at it from that kind of objective eye, I think that you're not as easily triggered by the word women have toxic traits. Okay.
Well, Jessica, I disagree with you because I believe that men are just as sensitive as women. I think what is different is the priorities. The priorities of men and women are different, which makes us different. I think the things that women are sensitive about give them this rep that they are sensitive, but that's not necessarily the case. Men are just as sensitive. When we get in a relationship with someone and I see Vudu over there shaking his head. When the women earlier on, just as a brief example, are attending the ball game with us, right? And then later on in the relation, no, I don't want to do that, right? No, I don't want to participate in that activity. No, I don't want to go on the motorcycle with you. No, I won't. You know what I mean? It becomes a different thing. And men do take offense to that as well. Women might be sensitive about security, might be sensitive about affection, might be sensitive about communication, right? I just think the categories are, the priorities and categories are just different for men than women. I think that's what it comes down to. We hold other things more importantly than you. Not to say your categories aren't important to us, but they might be less on the scale for us than a woman who holds these other categories such as security and affection and other things more important.
So what part do you disagree with? Because it sounds like we are in agreement.
Well, I disagree with you saying that just labeling women as sensitive, because I think men are sensitive too.
I didn't say that. I mean, well, I did say that.
She was quoting
but
something.
I'm saying it in the same context in which you're saying.
She's saying it was we're looking at it as a disability. I'll
Right.
give you this, Jessica. I don't consider it to be a disability. Are you guys more sensitive than men? Yes. Are men as equally sensitive as women? No.
But that goes against, like, to say more sensitive, like going back to his point, I don't think we're either more sensitive or insensitive. I think that the ranking of that is just different. Like, it depends on the topic in which you're discussing. So, like, but the only time it comes up is like in these conversations,
and I get it again.
Because a woman knows that what he just said, like, we're all sensitive. Like, human beings have sensitive, triggery spots. So depending on what we're talking about, if I know you inside and out, I can touch a spot and, like, because there's something in your life that makes you sensitive, that makes you like a little guarded. You don't want to hear that. It's a trigger.
There's something in life that makes me more sensitive than other things. Yes, I agree with you in that sense. That's every human being.
Right.
What you've got to understand is the same way a man can tend to be a little more aggressive, a little more egotistical than women can. that sensitivity is that check for that. You understand what I mean? This is how we should relate. It shouldn't be a bad thing for a woman to be sensitive. I'm just saying that they are more sensitive than men.
You know what
The
I
thing
think?
is that the sensitivity
Just
is
for the
the-
record, I don't agree with you on that.
Yeah, because his line
Just
is
for the
not
record.
secure. You're not going to understand it.
Lord, I am not.
I understand. Actually,
I really want to, because I feel like you get it, and then you
He
just,
does.
but you're conditioned to say we're so much more sensitive. It's like you're saying, yeah, everybody, all people
I'ma
are
break it.
sensitive, and yes, there's these topics, but women are more sensitive. Like that's not fair to say.
I will say
Like
this.
it becomes a trigger
Wait.
right then for me to
Hold on,
hear
I
that
think
because
Robbie's
I
trying
do
to chime
that
in
you
here,
agree.
though.
This is what I'm getting based off of listening to the three of you. I don't even think it's about sensitivity levels. I just think the way that we react to things gives off different vibes. It's like the reaction. Like we're all sensitive, but the way that the level in which we react to things is different. I see, this is just personal experience. I tend to get way more of a reaction to things, or I see way more of a reaction to things from women than men, which it can translate into, oh, you're more sensitive. But I mean, maybe like you just said, it may be your trigger, because there's certain things that I will like flip out over, you know. But to me, it's just like the reaction. It's like I don't even look at you as being more sensitive, but I just look at, oh, that topic right there, no, like that they're gonna flip out. Versus,
but you're more fluent in men. Like your language, you're fluent in speaking men. Like because you are a man, I am fluent and understand the woman because I am a woman. So my experience from womanhood is going to be understood. Whereas when I'm talking to women about certain topics, things that I would say men are sensitive about, women like understand the language of what I was trying to communicate.
Right.
But if you don't speak Spanish, it's like English and Spanish. Like
Yeah.
if you don't understand Spanish and I say something, I could very well be saying have a nice day, and you can say she was trying to curse me out. like because you don't understand the language.
Jessica, I feel bad that you're like the only female on here right now because
Me too.
I don't disagree with her though. I don't disagree with her.
Well,
Don't feel bad. I was in this position a couple weeks ago.
It's okay. I think I'm equipped.
We're
for
all
this,
just sharing.
but,
We're just sharing opinions. There's no. No one has
Right.
said anything wrong yet. You know, it's not about right or wrong. These are just points of views, and hopefully, those of you listening are taking notes. So go ahead, Q, because you about to drop some philosophy.
no,
Yes,
no,
he does.
no.
Snaps fingers. Give it to him.
I'm gonna be quiet. I'm
No.
gonna go ahead and let y'all speak on this one.
No.
Yeah. Is
Don't
your
do
line
that.
secure, Q?
Right. I was about to say that. The line is secure. This is what we came here for, to have this dialogue. And I think
I don't know damn well the line isn't secure right now.
And see, this is why we need solutions. We
'Cause
know.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Here's the key with everything. Like Jessica was saying, like, oh yeah, she can talk to any thing to other women about. Well, I don't find that to be true, but I will tell you this: a woman can talk to men about anything when they're not in a relationship. As soon as they get in a relationship with the person, they can no longer talk about the same things anymore. Because you're right. Like right now, we're sitting here discussing this. It's fine. As soon as you're involved in a relationship, everything starts to go sideways. Because everybody then says, what we talk about now, they're going to hold me to that in the relationship itself.
Ooh.
So that's why I say, no, the line is not secure. Y'all know my line not secure.
Hey yo.
I think that might be why I am chronically single, because
Me too.
I'm very vocal. I don't bite my tongue. It's not to the point in which I am trying to demasculate the male, or I am trying to, like, I want to be heard just like a man wants to be heard. And I think that women, we have to fight so hard to have our voice, like, to be heard.
Oh shit.
I disagree. I disagree.
I think I agree with her to the point that I think with certain
I'm gonna
people.
listen to you before I say anything.
Good.
So go
Thank
ahead.
you.
I want to hear
Q,
you.
back up from the camera, man.
No, Q in it. Q in it now. He here. I just think that we
He
have.
just dropped a bomb on us.
I don't want to fight to be heard. I don't want to, like, I want to have dialogue. I want to have conversation. I'm open, and I will say, like, in my own personal experience, there are some things that are triggery, like when people say certain things, like the sensitivity is a trigger for me, because there was a time where I was sensitive and my feelings were on my sleeve. But then I found words, and it's like now that I find words to call me sensitive is like a trigger. It kind of brings up the old self because I'm trying to find words, and even my words are no longer, like, now we're reverting back. And so it's like this old trauma that's haunting. And I don't know. I just think that women really want to have a voice in the conversation. They want to be seen for their full being, not these gender specific roles of what I should be doing, but who I am. Like, I don't want to be like labeled into this. While I can submit, I don't only want to be just seen as submissive, because there's a great part of me as a business owner. I have to be assertive. So while I am willing to submit and I'm willing to be a team player, you can't just put me in a box and say, you're supposed to be submissive. No, because there's 50, 60, 70% of my day when I'm working, I am meant to drive a business and be assertive and make moves. And I need to be valued in that part of myself, as well in the feminine part of myself, as in the free part of myself. So I think people in general, like, if we take off some of these labels, even down to the conversation, I think what we're all understanding is that people want to be heard. Someone said, to be able to speak freely and have the freedom of expression. I don't think that can be categorized in man or female. And I think when you meet people that allow you to have that space, like, you'll find that the lines are a lot more common than they are different. Like, we are sensitive. We do have these traits that we have to work on, but, like, you have to get past all the barriers of that. So
the only problem with that is that a lot of the male listeners to this show are not going to agree with you, because they're going to be like, all the relationships that I've been in, the women definitely had a voice. If not, they had more of a voice than the men had. So
that's what I was trying to get at.
You
guys are heard and listened to a lot more than you actually think or give yourself credit to. Just in the discussion with other men, you guys have more influence in our decision making than you give yourself credit to. Because that's probably the most valuable thing we own. Not own, bad word on. That is the most valuable thing we probably can attain as men, is a partner, especially if they're in love and love that partner. Like, if they're going to listen to them, you already have that voice. You're already being heard. You're already influencing that decision. And that is the power of a relationship, because you guys are a voice of reasoning. We tend to be decisive but quick on our judgments. You tend to get us to scale back and think it through, or at least be open to a little bit more sensitivity, because we lack the sensitivity that you guys have. It's just that, I mean, like, I hear women say, oh, women are just as strong as men. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. I hear what you're trying to say. But I think it's because of, I guess, past or bad experiences that's been put out there in a voice to make it sound like it's such a bad thing to be in a relationship, with a woman, or a woman being in a relationship with a man. You've got to understand that you guys already have that influence. So when you say you're not heard, you may hear some male chauvinistic comments, or attitudes from guys, but a family man like Nick, and a father like Q, and you've got me and Noop, who's just swinging by the wayside. We still get influence. You know what I mean? It makes no difference in the relationship that you have. And I've had it.
So it is a biological fact that women are way better and more communicative than men are. It's just a fact. So, as Charles said,
No, I didn't say that, man.
no, I'm saying what you said previously, that you are listened to more than you think. That is a fact.
That
Okay.
is absolute truth. It's just
Yeah.
sometimes guys
With that,
can't
okay,
express
with that
Yes,
fact,
before you go on, I just wanted to make one more comment because
Okay.
you also mentioned this whole submissive stuff. I just want to go on record, like myself, Vudu, Nick, we all go for strong women. None of us want submissive women. All of them will tell you that. So when you say submissive, I understand that how they say a ship can only go in one direction at a time. Now, that's why there's always these co-captains. But when you say submissive, I know the men here, that's not what we're about. So all this other stuff, because I get it. I've been in relationships where women want the man to run everything, but I've never seen these men here want none of that. So
because
that's
I mean,
all I want
to quickly explain that, the thing is like when I get in a relationship, I need you to be able to help me because I know I'm here to be able to help you. And if you can't do that, I don't need you to hear my every command and go with that. I need a second brain because I'm not going to make the right decisions all the time. I'm going to make mistakes. If I can't get somebody to help me with that, you're not helping me. And it's vice versa. You got to understand it in that sense. I mean, like, who wants a woman to let you just lead them to the dark?
right.
Because I'll lead you to the bottom of a pit if you let me. So I mean, like, I need you to say, hey, Charles, that's a cliff right there. I'm like,
Okay,
oh, yeah, my bad.
so I'm listening to y'all, and I'm hearing y'all. I'm taking some of this in. Okay, so we have all of this influence, and you also stated communication, that women are overwhelmingly statistically proven to communicate better. With all of that detail, I feel like maybe the solution lies in the communication. Because I feel like women want to communicate, and we are proven that we can communicate, but then I guess the feeling, going back to the original point of view, was that what you can't say. And I think we have to get past what can't be said, and that everything can be said. And we have to find language for, like, to be able to move in that communication vehicle to get us to the next destination of where we're trying to go.
So I'm going to say something that's probably going to be very controversial, but I think sometimes women need to talk less and listen more.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
I gotta go. I just got a phone call.
I will say this to your point, Jessica.
So y'all talking on both sides, and I'm really I'm confused because we need to talk less and listen more. But if you are not willing to say the hard stuff, which is the meat, we can't talk about sides. And we know we got a big topic. Yeah. Like, the big topics are the things that y'all not willing to talk about.
Well, Jessica, I'll tell you this. Jessica, let me ask you. Okay,
go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
I was gonna say here. I guess this is to sum it up for me. I don't like talking to people, or I don't enjoy talking to people who aren't receptive of information. I'm going to be tired of you very quickly and probably be done with you very quickly. And which is why a lot of the times I cut myself off and won't talk. And I've been told that I'm, what's the word? Dismissive. And it's like, I'm not trying to be dismissive or discount an opinion, but when I see where a conversation is going and I can tell that you're not hearing me, because you're too busy trying to respond versus listening and taking information. It's not that I'm telling you what to do or trying to say that I'm quote unquote right. I'm giving you information from my perspective. That's it. I just want you to take that into consideration moving forward. It is very rare, for me anyway. I'll have some close female friends who get it, but like relationship wise, none of them have ever got it. They've always felt defensive. They've always felt like I was trying to tell them what to do, and it's like, no, I'm just giving you information. It don't even have to be a whole discussion. I'm trying to get you to, just like I receive information from you and I adapt accordingly. I'm hoping that you would do. I'm trying to do the same thing, but it's like you don't get it back in return.
It's about working. It's about working as a team. Truly, what you're saying, because I had an argument with my spouse the other day, and not to go into too much detail, but the thing is, we're trying to make a decision on something, and I'm asking her for information, and she feels bad because she hasn't given me the information when I asked her for it, right? But she comes back to me all defensive, saying, "Oh, just go ahead and make a decision based on the information you have on your side." And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. First of all, I know that's a trap, because if I go and I make the decision based on the information I have without getting her data, and something goes wrong, what do you think is going to happen?
You get the blame.
It comes back to you.
Nick, I just want to know, is your line secure over there? Because you saying
It is not secure, sir.
Oh,
Sir,
I
this line is not secure. I said this multiple times. No one is listening.
I mean, we totally reconciled over it, so I can say this.
You get in trouble.
Totally reconciled over it, and she will give me the information. But the thing is, she was so busy trying to make the point.
You're gonna see Nick's screen go dark like.
She was so busy trying to be right in the whole situation, not realizing that, hey, listen, I'm trying to do what's best for both of us. This ain't about winning the argument.
Right, but I think that right there is a level of maturity that most people don't have, because you held her accountable to it, and you were your ego didn't meet, say, the ego of her response, because your ego could have said, you know what, you're right, and this is what I'm choosing, like, and it's that. But again, it's like, no, we ain't going to do that, and that's a accountability factor. But I think it takes patience and time and a lot of other things to be able to move like that. And I think people skip early steps, and it's like, how can we make that a practice? How can you make those things a practice? Like, how did you learn to, like, because I'm pretty sure when you met her and before, like, you didn't just start this week. Like, this is like layers of
Right.
practicing this behavior, like, to learn, like, this is what we're going to do.
But I'm going to argue to you and tell you, relationships end on arguments like that. They end on arguments like that, because if the man's going to hold their ground on a point like that, that can escalate to another thing. Oh, he's not listening to me. Oh, he won't just, right?
Right. But I guess, like, for the people and for the audience members that recognize that, like, how do you move? Because, like, I feel like I come with a wealth of knowledge and wisdom, and not that I don't have shortcomings, because I have also flaws and alls, but my intention for the next relationship that I am in is to ultimately be able to navigate difficult situations, like, and be able to come together with my spouse and have conversation and be free to speak my opinions, and also that everything is not one strike you out. Like, nobody moves freely like that. If you know that one step and you're going to step on the mine that's going to blow the whole relationship up, you're not going to move as freely as being in a relationship that gives grace, and also, you know what, you don't get this piece right here, so I'm going to have to take the lead right now and help us both elevate to the next place. Like, how do you get to that space? And I think that that's what all of us want to know, like, because I don't think any of the points have been too far off center. They have a little bit of a blind spot here and there, but, like, I think ultimately everybody wants to navigate this euphoria of, like, how do we get along? And it's very hard, because there is a lot of one and dones, or I get mad, I blow up, and it's over. And you know what? Screw it. We don't have to be together. We can just keep dating.
Because that's easy. You don't have to do any work. It's easy. Yeah. You run.
Yeah, to the previous points, right? It's about laying it on the table, number one, and number two, it's about we and not I, right?
I will say this. Y'all need to rewind everything that Jessica just said. That's called taking that when you're single and you want a relationship, you have to go down that journey of really asking yourself, who am I? Where am I? What do I really want from this person? You have to do that. And am I ready? That's another thing. You know, we see that big, like, I want a motorcycle really bad. If someone came and drove up a motorcycle and said you can have it, I wouldn't drive that motorcycle. You know why? I'm not ready to ride a motorcycle yet. I've not taken the course. I don't have the equipment. None of that. I can't ride the motorcycle. I want that mofo. I want one really bad. But if someone gave me one right now, it would be parked for at least the next 3 to 4 months until I figure out what the heck I'm doing. And a lot of people aren't willing, and this is personal experience, aren't willing to forego that for self. I'm just going to take advantage of this. Like, literally, at the end of my most recent relationship, she said, I knew from the beginning that I should have told you no because I wasn't ready, but you were so good to me. You weren't giving me a reason to say no, but I knew I wasn't ready. And I'm like, you could have, if she would have said no, things would be totally different right now. You know what I'm saying? So I think that personal journey is so freaking important. You have to take that personal journey.
Over it.
You can't.
Because I think that goes back to the very first thing we started talking about, accountability, security. You cannot be secure in yourself until you've had that own accountability talk with yourself. I can't be held accountable by somebody else because I didn't first understand what that looked like for me. Like, and so when someone else comes to do it to you, it's a trigger. You're not even taking that. I think you're triggered by their accountability because you didn't do that for yourself. You didn't hold yourself to some stuff and be accountable with self. So now it feels like they're telling me what to do. They're making me do these things. No, they're just holding you accountable. But if you would have done that a long time ago, it wouldn't feel, I feel like, so, I don't know, like when you know you're wrong and you know you can own it because like you recognized it first and it's like, yeah, you're right. I probably was tripping.
Yeah, you're comfortable with it. You're comfortable
I
with
don't know.
it. But
This is good dialogue.
This has been an excellent episode. So let's just start hitting points of things we think can help secure the line. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm gonna be honest with you. The line will never be secure. I'm sorry. I have to say it. I just feel that way because to all of our points, you honestly don't know what you're gonna get with the other person. You're not gonna know how far they are in that journey, and there's gonna be bumps in the road. Is this person gonna be willing to stick it out with me? You ain't gonna know that until it happens. You're not gonna know until it happens. But let's talk about ways we can help secure the line, ladies and gentlemen. This is not time for a dramatic pause.
Open.
Right. It's nobody knows how to.
I could go first.
I just didn't want to hear my voice again. Q, go ahead.
Well, you are the, not to lack of better words. I'm gonna say I was gonna say elder, but sensei. And the way.
Wait, I like sensei.
Age, I mean elder in experience, because you are the only one in the success story of the committed relationship that I know. I'm not sure. Q, are you in a relationship? Are you married?
I am not married.
Okay, so yes, you are at the totem pole of this. Like everybody else is single and not in a relationship and dating and trying to figure it out, and we ain't said I do yet. So
all right. I'll start on the first point. So, as Q said, self. No one wants to blame self, right? You have to be able to blame self. Number one. So that open dialogue needs to have that difficult discussion that you cannot have with your brother, your sister, your mother, anyone else, but you can have it with the person you're with. Needs to happen. That's number one.
So to recap, to make sure we're all clear, I'm going to use some therapy verbiage. So what I'm hearing is you have to first have that difficult conversation and come to a logical awareness with yourself before you can enter into having that difficult conversation with another person or whatever it may be. Like
your truth. Like, you have to be able to see your truth, right?
Right. You have to be able to see it from dual lenses like from both, because there's two sides to us. Like whether it's our masculine femininities or our dual thinking, like we think yes or no, like there's dual reaction to every topic. So until you can kind of come to that level-headed space for yourself, you cannot enter into it with another being in business, relationship, or what have you.
I would
Right.
say
And
this.
then when you are with that person, there has to be a fulcrum, that point where you feel like, okay, I can trust this person with everything, that you have that same discussion that you had with yourself with that person, that you
Right.
lay it on the table.
I was,
Gotcha.
Vudu, you about to speak? Oh.
I'm just taking it in right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say this, Jessica. You just did something small but extremely significant. And shout out to Nella B. She said this a few episodes ago. When Nick said what he said, you came back and said, "Okay, I'm gonna give you some therapy." So what I'm hearing you say is that's very important. When someone says something to you and you take it away and you think it might escalate or you feel triggered, you might want to repeat and say, "Okay, so this is what I just heard you say. Is this what you meant?" That will clear up probably 99.9% of disagreements, misunderstandings. Because sometimes people express things and we take it away, but that's not what they meant, if that makes sense. So taking a step back and actually listening a bit more, slow it down, take out that mentality of right or wrong, or I must defeat you in this conversation or discussion. It's like, we are working together. We are building together. Why are we fighting? Why are we trying to prove right or wrong? We are trying to find the best decision for us. Like, it's really, for me, it's really that simple. What is best for us? Even if I don't like it, I'm not going to like all the decisions that are best for us. But if it helps us get to the next level, that's what I want. That is the goal. So that's more important than my personal feelings on a majority of things. Vudu
I
Q,
like that.
how do we secure the line, man? Y'all got to give me something. Especially Q.
Especially Q.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
You're
Q
the
does
most
not
controversial member on here. And I feel where you're coming from. And I don't disagree with what you said because I've experienced and seen a lot of what you just said. And I know people who think like that. So from your perspective, what is something that we can do to secure the line?
Okay, I can sit here and say.
Why you gotta deliver it like that, man?
I can sit here and say that, hey, yes, people need to share and be involved in each other's lives. But the truth be told, the line will never be secure. I'm sorry to let your listeners know that. And it's very
Jessica, your
simple
face.
to understand. I mean,
I said that though. I started with that, but go ahead.
Because let's break it down.
Uh-oh.
We have a female on the show right now. Let's think about it. We can go through the typical stuff in relationships. You know how they say a man asks, because usually this is how it works. Man asks a woman, hey, look, get married. Woman either says yes or no. They say yes. They say, okay, let's go ahead and do the wedding. I'm going to tell you how relationships really work. The women decide where we're going to get married. They're going to decide how the wedding is going to go. From there, then they say, okay, it's time for us to buy a house. The woman is going to decide what type of neighborhood they want to be in, what type of house to get. They're even going to decide what's going to be in the house.
That's true, Nick.
Yeah. Nick
No,
is,
it's not.
It's
I
not
don't
true.
want it to be true. And
Nick-
like,
Nick
I
is
don't
saying,
want
no,
that to be- I do
this
not
is
want that to be true.
Hold on, y'all talking over each other.
Oh,
This is-
sorry.
Let him
This
go.
is-
Let him finish.
the fact. This is what happens in relationship. Then they say, oh, because if everybody's doing things and they're talking about it, then they say, oh, it's time to have children. Well, a woman can decide at any given time, no, it's not a good time for me.
Ooh.
Or they can say, yes, we can have children now. Then even with children here, the woman decides if they're going to stay home to take care of the children or if they're going to still work.
I don't believe in that.
I'm just letting you know what happens. Tell
But,
me,
but I think you're right. I think you are right.
happen. Tell me it doesn't happen.
Go ahead.
It doesn't. It doesn't happen. But go ahead. Go ahead, Jessica.
I'm
Nick,
not talking to you.
No, I think that he is right. But it's like right now with politics, it depends on these pollings that they're doing. Who are you polling? And I think that you're right about your experience and about what you're saying.
Not my experience. I'm going off of.
Okay, so 1,000 people though, out of 1,000 people, 1,000 couples, we're gonna say couples. Okay, that might be 950 couples that have that experience. However,
agree with me.
I think going back to the end of this story, like the end of this narrative that you're projecting, they end in divorce. And they end in divorce because they were following a manual that was written to fail. Because if you do all of what you just said, and that is true, and it does happen, and people, I hear it. And to me, when I hear other women saying, like, you basically tell them what to do, and all these little things, like, it don't even sound attractive to me because I don't want to be in a relationship like that. I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm making every ultimate decision because it is skewed. It doesn't even feel like my relationship. I want to be in an environment that is challenging, and I'm thinking we're making decisions together. We're moving forward. We're strategizing.
You're the exception.
It is like a experience in itself to be there versus check.
You're the exception.
So
you remember that episode we had? I always said there's always that 10%.
Yeah, he did. Okay. You're the exception, Jessica. You're the exception.
That story, and like we're keep emulating just like a plant that stamps out paper plates, and they just go stamp. Like nobody just wants to stamp out a marriage relationship. Like you want to have intimacy. You want to be at this space of I can be my full self. And I don't think that module is going to get you there ever. Like, it's never going to duplicate. You might accidentally, maybe, but that's one. That's not even, I don't know.
So Q, I don't think that's every single situation, just like you're saying. I think that for most relationships, that might be true.
I said there's 10%. I understand that.
Right. So I'm just going to say that does not apply to me. That doesn't apply to me.
I said that in the last.
It doesn't, Vudu. It doesn't. I'm sorry. It doesn't.
But the whole point of this show, I think, is how do we become part of the 10%? Because it's already obvious that the 90% ain't making it. It ain't working. It ain't working for them. Somebody's unhappy in the relationship. The relationship is failing. Even if they stay in the relationship, you have a person giving 70% and receiving 30. They're not happy. Like, and we're trying to live optimal full lives here.
How to become the 10%? Well, y'all make some very good points. And it's scary. This is why I like having these conversations. It's like looking in the mirror, and this is why I'll say this. This is another thing that people should do that will help secure the line. You need to seek out mentors and people older than you that you have things in common with that can impart knowledge. Like, yes, I just called y'all old. I'm sorry. But these are three of my homies, and like I said on the last episode, they've really helped me in life, not just relationship, but in life, and have painted pictures. And just like what Q just said, I've experienced that. And he just highlighted some things that I didn't even think about. But every single point he was making, I was like, yep, went through that. The other thing you have to pay attention to, I think, which will help secure the line to bring about more meaningful dialogue in relationships, is pay close attention to what isn't said. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a lot of the times my girlfriends told me no, or that they disagreed with me and never said a word. It was your lack of words or your lack of action, your lack of enthusiasm said no, but you didn't want to you didn't have the conversation. And usually it turned out being them, instead of having a discussion, you went and did what you felt like you wanted to do, and you disregarded my thoughts and feelings about it. And I've
Yep.
kind of learned to recognize that, and now I tend to be the one to broach the subject to say, "Hey, well, you didn't say anything. You didn't give me a response. What are we doing?" And a lot of
My
them.
last
Go
my
ahead.
last
You heard,
experience acted
just
like
you
I
heard what
didn't
you said, right?
even say anything.
Even he said, "What are we doing?"
Yeah, I've had to do that. That's something I've experienced. So I will say that's another way, man. Like, start off with the communication strong and put it on the table. Like Nick said, man, you gotta start off with the communication. Like, be who you are, and let them know this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm trying to do. And when they aren't exemplifying that, you gotta have a conversation about it, man. We, like Jessica said, we let too much stuff pass, these flags. Guilty. I'll say I'm guilty. I let some red flags pass that probably could have changed things or put me in a better situation I'm in now. But I'm not that person anymore. I've actually learned. I'm taking the time to love myself more and do more for myself more. And when I get into another relationship, I'm going to hold on to that. I'm not going to sacrifice so much so soon just to show you that I'm here and I'm with it. I'm going to need you to meet me halfway. I'm going to need to see what are you doing? You can see what I'm doing. I talk about what I'm doing. I need to see the same effort or equal, or however whatever that looks like coming from you.
I've heard women had a word for what you just said,
Oh shit.
and a lot of women refer to that as being jaded. I just wanted to point that out to you. When you say you're
Yeah.
using something
That's what that
from
is.
previous relationship and their relationship, that word is called jaded. I hear it all the time
Yeah, I've been accused of that.
because this is what men do. They say, okay, this didn't work in the previous relationship. I have to change because I was partly to blame because I let it happen.
And you know what
So
else?
they say I won't do that anymore, and women call that jaded.
I'm gonna add this. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why I do this. When it comes to self responsibility, it comes to response. Oh, I'll do things. I wouldn't say there's certain things I won't. Yeah, I won't do. Yeah, and there's things I'm gonna do differently. Those sacrifices, I'll still make them, but they're gonna happen later. But I do that because the number one thing that I've learned from all my relationships is, and life in general, I control what the hell I do. I control what I say, my actions, what I give, what I won't give, what I'll receive. I have 100% control of that. So I have to take advantage of that control because I cannot control anything that the other person is going to do. I can only hope to influence it, but I can't control it. So I know moving forward, let me do my part and control what I can control and see how it's going to go this time. Because I haven't made big enough changes, and I saw the results of that, and I was like, nah, we're not doing that no more. So they can call
How do
me
you
jaded.
feel about that, Jessica? What he just said.
I
Like,
think,
do you think it's correct for a guy to just hope if he's not getting what he would hope to get out of a relationship?
say that one more time.
Do you feel it's correct for a guy to, like, not a complete halt, but actually slow down, if not come to a complete halt because he's not getting the reaction he needs out of the relationship? Or at least
I agree.
he feels that the partner.
And that was actually kind of piggybacks up on what I was going to say as another form of a solution is personal boundaries. Like,
Yes.
and going back to the jaded comment, I think that people manipulate when you set boundaries for yourself and you're honest and transparent, and it's a boundary that uh binds your, I guess, their insecurity away from you. Like when you create that line of separation and you hit a target of something like, I'm setting this personal boundary and it impacts you, I think that then the ego wants to try to manipulate you and make you feel bad about your boundary. And I don't think that that's necessarily jaded. I think that things impact us. We go through experiences and we get some type of the experience impacts you negatively, positively, neutrally. Like there's something that happens to you, and so I don't think that it's jaded to have a certain experience. And I had this conversation earlier this morning with the ex of mine that called, and it was me using my voice don't like, you cannot manipulate me with certain pieces of your words to fit your narrative. Like, and it's easier for me to identify that now because it's happened at different times. And I felt like in our conversation, he was using certain words to kind of manipulate the meat of the topic, and it wasn't really reflective of what I was saying or what his true intent was. But you can use certain words to trigger people and to like manipulate the flow of the conversation, where the conversation goes. So I don't think that it's jaded. I think we all have experiences from our past that impact us, and you have to be transparent about that. Like, this is a trigger for me. This is where I am. This is the things that bother me. And no, you can't change people. That's why you have to, going back to what I meant by power, you have to own your power and say, like, you know what, my power really ain't telling you what you should or would. I can only say that so many times, and hope that the times that I've said it, that either you're going to chew on that and make some type of change, and that's like the warning shots, because I cannot make you change. There's nothing that I can say, there's nothing that I can do like that can make that instantly is like a button that will make you change, except for probably hit your triggers, and that's not healthy. Like, and that's what people do to manipulate. They make people change because they hit their trigger buttons, and it's like, I'm gonna get some type of reaction out of you today, instead of the more holistic way is to have the conversation, have the dialogue, and hope. But that's not in your control, and people don't want to do things that are not in their control. They want to control the situation and the narrative, so they hit the buttons, and I think that that's toxic behavior.
That is true.
Very true.
I agree.
Vudu,
with
how
that
can we
too.
secure the line, man? Come on, Vudu. You got something. Stop shaking your head. Your line is secure over there, I think.
Oh, my line is not secure. Well, yeah, my line's pretty secure here. I've learned from my past experience how to secure my line.
Okay, well, help me out.
It's without saying any names, past experience. One of my recent past experiences. Initially, when we met, we agreed that we would do certain things. I also even said what Jessica said. I wasn't ready for a relationship. I'm not looking for that right now. I'm not doing anything right now, but however, we can date if you like. No, I'm not dating anybody else. It's just that I've got other focuses. And I don't know if that's going to take away from what you're looking for me. Got manipulated, not manipulated. It kind of migrated into, oh, damn, I'm in a relationship now. So I had to embrace that, which I did because it turned out to be a very good friend. So it got to a point where what you said you were looking for and what I said I was looking for, we agreed that's what we would probably work towards. And it got to a point where I was getting a lot less of what I was giving in that sense. And I don't mean physical, I mean just like the emotional investment in the relationship. So I did that's why I asked Jessica, is it bad to come to a complete halt? I came to almost a complete halt in the relationship because I was getting what you said you were willing to provide into the relationship. And I felt it was toxic because it became something kind of like pushing buttons in a sense, where you were trying to get things out of me emotionally, and I wasn't willing to participate anymore because you're no longer agreeing to the relationship we decided to relate in. You understand what I mean? So yeah. The line being secure thing, honestly, is like Dex said, when you initially start talking to someone that you're not in a relationship with or wasn't thinking about being in a relationship with, and everything gets spoken out, you're talking about different things, and once you're in a relationship, that conversation completely does a complete 180. Things get shut down, and it becomes guesswork, and I hate guesswork. I don't want to guess what you're thinking. I don't want to guess what you want from me. Tell me, and I'll tell you if I can or not. And don't be upset if I say, no, I can't. Because if I say, yeah, I can, and I don't give it to you, you're going to be upset anyways. You see what I mean? So to secure a line, you've got to be open enough to where if we're having a discussion like this, or if, for instance, sorry, Nick, is having a discussion on Xbox, and the TV's loud, and the significant other can hear everything in the background, she's comfortable enough because she's secure enough to know who Nick is. Whatever conversation he's having with his friends. But she already knows her man. She already knows who he is. She already knows what he provides. She already knows how to take care of her. So she has no worries. And he's open that way, and she should be comfortable that way, and he's comfortable being open and discussing anything because he already know what his relationship is, because his relationship is not with me, not with Q, not with Newt. You understand what I mean? And this is how you secure a line. You know what I mean? You've got to be open enough to where whatever discussions you have outside, what do you mean when you said blah, blah, blah? You should already know. You don't know that person, that means you need to go back and start doing some maintenance and get to know who you're with. Because that's how you decide whether to keep them or leave them.
Right. There's one thing I want to add to what you're saying, which it kind of came off my head as you were talking. I remember earlier part of my relationship with my wife, where people also have to remember that when you're in that relationship and everything is sugars and flowers and whatever, you also have to be able to recognize the red flags and end the relationship. You have to be able to end the relationship. And it's something that happened with me and my wife when she was my girlfriend, where we ended the relationship because it was a red flag. And it was just something that, it was an immature part of her that I did not like. And you end it because you have to recognize that the relationship is not your end all be all. You were okay before the relationship, and you'll be okay after the relationship. Now, if you decide later on that, okay, you resolve it and you'll get together, that's one thing, right? But you have to be able to preserve yourself first. Love yourself enough, preserve yourself first to get to where the line is secure.
Yeah, Nick, that all comes from experience and maturity. And usually you have to get past a few relationships just to get to that point sometimes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Vudu, I like the way that you sum things up, man. I really have nothing else to say on it, honestly. The way you sum that up, that's who I'm becoming. And it's funny, I never thought I was gonna be like that. I was raised to give my all so that I would have no regrets. I can look back on things, but at the same time, you setting yourself up for a dummy mission because people will take advantage. People will slowly draw back. They'll start doing 20%, and next thing you know, you're doing 80%, and that's not cool. So I really like the way that you broke that down. I think that was very relatable, and that's very understandable. We see that not outside of romantic relationships. Your brother, your cousins, your friends is like, dang, every time I come through, I bring the liquor, but you bringing the styrofoam cups. Hold the hell up. Like, damn. Like, can you bring a bottle? Like, why you always got to get Bud Light? Why you can't get the German lager like I do? Like, what's going on here? So, go ahead, Jessica.
Well,
your wheels are spinning. I love it.
Not gonna say anything on that one.
Speak.
You gotta contribute.
Because I want us to get to a space where we recognize in that example, and I don't think that example is what you meant, but I do think a lot of the listeners will contextualize that statement. And you have to recognize, like, everybody has different things to give. And if they're always bringing the red cups, like, I think you should also be aware, because people that are really trying to take from you, like, sometimes they just showing up. They're not bringing anything to the table to commune. And so, like, I don't know. I think we have three forms of currency in which we spend our time. And we talked about that: time, money, and energy. And at any point when that shifts and I'm giving more energy to something than I am receiving, or more time to something than I am receiving, or more money into something than the other person, like, I think that's when we should step away. But, like, recognizing that you brought the bottle, but you can't really drink. I mean, yeah, you can, because we country and culture. But you drink from the bottle.
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, that person is still breaking bread and bringing something to the table. And you don't know. Like, sometimes we like to look at things tit for tat, but, like, maybe they don't have the bottle to bring, but they're there in effort and they're really there. And like, that's a whole nother spinoff. But I just don't want us to get stuck on these tit for tat things.
Yeah.
Like that you want to be able to commune with people that are bringing something.
But you got to be able to contribute, Jessica.
Yeah, we just talked about that so-called jaded, and you said it was not being jaded. But the catch is, when you've experienced in the past, you're not going to let those things go again, because, like I said, you've learned from those experiences, and you're trying to curb some of these reactions. So when you say tit for tat, it's not tit for tat. You're just saying, no, I've seen this before. Now it's a red flag for me. I am not going to let that happen anymore.
Right.
And what
Which
Vudu
is a healthy
said,
boundary. I totally agree.
And
That's creating a personal boundary. You know, like I don't think that should be considered jaded. I think when I hear the word jaded, I'm thinking of something that it's like a scar, like a scarring, and maybe it's like maybe that's just my experience, but I don't think I don't think personal boundaries makes you jaded. I think jaded is like turning your eye, like I don't want to have nothing to do with it. I didn't even look into it. Like you just like you didn't do any further analysis to it. You just said no. That's what I think of when I hear jaded. Not.
I mean, my thing is, you're saying no just to defend the guy with the white foam cup. When you're saying no, you have to be able to contribute. Okay, if this guy's showing up with his cup ready and not buying the bottle and things like that, you know, if he did something different to contribute, like maybe the last guy to leave and he's always the guy there cleaning up after everybody's done and things like that, doing his part, you know, it may not be recognized that he's bringing this damn white cup. So, you understand what I mean? So it's about contribution, wherever you're.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you get in a relationship and this woman makes tons of money, you make nothing. You contribute in other ways where it makes her life a lot easier because she's making yours easier. And she recognizes that. You've got a 50-50 relationship. You know what I mean? And it's vice versa, regardless of this, regardless of the opposite sex. So it's about contribution.
Yeah,
right.
And I don't want it to be lost, because the other thing Vudu said, I don't want y'all to take that, what I said, I guess it was misinterpreted a bit. Vudu had the discussion and said, hey, let me know what you want, and I can let you know whether or not I can do that, or no, I can't. So when I was using that analogy, don't tell me, yeah, dog, you know what I mean, I'm going to bring the vodka and, I'm going to bring the girls and the vodka and the ice, but you just show up with the cups every time. Like,
right.
Stop setting this false expectation of saying, yeah, this is what I want. This is what we're going to do. All right, but you always coming up short. But then you don't want no one to say nothing to you about coming up short.
Exactly. I totally agree with all of that.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's the other thing too, y'all. Be real with yourself. See, you got to look at what someone has to offer you. If that ain't enough, you got to be strong enough to say, I don't want that.
Yep. I was in a very destructive relationship, not the past one, just to be clear, in case somehow their hands get on this. But once before, 5 years ago, I was in a destructive relationship because I wasn't being true to myself. It was absolutely because I wasn't being true to myself. I didn't say it was my fault. I said I set myself up for that. Because I wasn't being true to myself. Because I allowed it to happen. I allowed the manipulation to continue. You know what I mean? And I thought this is what I wanted or was able to tolerate until it got to a point where I'm like, why the hell am I tolerating this again? I'm like, you know better than this. And I had to get out of that. Some people don't get out of these relationships.
Yeah.
No,
but it was
not accountable. You got to be accountable with yourself. Yeah. And I feel like that awareness alone, like it keeps, we don't do that. Like if we are really honest, going back to that initial power, the power was like, if you honest with yourself, you can recognize like I wasn't being true to myself. And that's what I attracted. Somebody else that's also not being true to you either. So now you got two manipulative people in a relationship. That's not going to go anywhere.
Nowhere at all.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. I know this is
fun. I survived. Do I get a T-shirt?
We working on merchandise.
I'll get you a T-shirt.
I survived the gaming society.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Stop putting us in boxes.
No, third.
But yeah,
There's some stereotyping going on.
so I'm pretty sure that some of you definitely pulled some gems from this. Definitely learn from this. Hopefully you can secure your line. Ultimately, securing a line is going to start with self, and what you attract and what you allow to quote unquote occur, what you tolerate. I'm laughing because I'm just thinking about some other stuff. I'm sorry.
It might be the alcohol.
The truth of I'm drinking water. I don't have any. I only have beer. I don't even have any hard stuff.
You're not being true to yourself, sir.
I'm being true to my health. But yeah, hopefully that will secure the line for you. Much like Vudu said, Nick, I'm pretty sure can speak freely because his wife knows who he is and knows what he says. I've been smacked across the back of my head for trying to be that person, and I said, now I know they really didn't know me. That's why they slapped me. So, do anyone have any closing words for the people?
Do you want to
Nope.
explain
Do the
your
work. Do the work. Do the work. I
True
don't
that.
think enough people do the work. I
Yes.
don't, and the work starts with yourself, and the work starts like internally. And once you do that work, I feel like the abundance comes in relationships, businesses, and overflow. But you can't get to that until you make that first deposit within self and like recognizing self. So that would be my challenge.
Take off them track shoes
So-
and stop running.
Yeah.
My last word is this, because I think that Q said something earlier that really hit it for me. Is it's easy to say, it is all easy to say,
Yep.
but get down into it, just like you said, do the work.
Be prepared to be uncomfortable, man.
Whew. All of it.
You have to. You have to.
Yep.
Well, the only last word I've got is you got to understand if you're starting a relationship, it's a lot easier to walk away early than to go through some nonsense and down a spiral and make it painful to walk
Heck yeah.
away. So just express yourself and tell them how you feel, what you want, what you're looking for. Initially, if they don't like you, guess what? Remember that sign I posted on Facebook? So
Hit
I
the
do
road.
not like you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Be truthful and just get out of it. You get out of it early. So you need to be truthful initially.
Q.
Well, there's not too much more to say. Everybody kind of summed it up. Whole catches, like everybody was saying, you got to be yourself and say what's on your mind. A lot of people just won't come out and say, I don't like that shit. A lot of people just can't do it.
Yeah.
They overlook what makes them feel good, and it's almost like they make themselves worse as a relationship goes on. As Vudu said, it becomes a spiral then when you could have just said it up front, hey, I didn't like what you just did. Because a lot of people can't speak, I'll call it being raw. A lot of people just can't do it. They just can't come out and say what's on their mind at that time. Everybody always feel like they got to tiptoe around somebody's feelings when you can just say, hey, that wasn't right, and you're going to have to do better.
That's right.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you join us on Facebook in the Facebook group From My Experience Podcast, Instagram FME_podcast. If you have a topic or if you want to be a guest, you want to hit us up via email, FMEpodcast1@gmail.com. Don't forget about our affiliates, Gardener's Garden, Retro Mimi, and Acre Gold. Those links will be in the description. Unless you're on iTunes, it won't be in the description of iTunes because they give you a limited amount of characters, so I don't have space for it. But thank y'all, and make sure you continue to take care of yourself mentally, physically, financially, and we will catch y'all next time. Peace.